Okay. With the new normal and the mixed signs that's materialized in OCTG, it's also coming out in the structural mechanical markets in the U.S. U.S. pipe mechanical tube prices hit record highs for domestic and imported standard pipe and mechanical tubing, marching up in line with climbing substrate cost. But we've seen a change in that ability to pass that increased substrate cost on to the end user. As you see the pie charts up to the left, the question was asked of the service center supplying these steel coils, are you having difficulty in passing along the new higher prices to your customers? And you can see at the beginning of the year, it was a straight pass through. Everybody was happy and good growth in the mechanical side. Q2, we started seeing more feedback saying that they weren't able to pass that increased substrate cost on. And we're seeing in Q3 that that's a continuation. So we believe that trend is coming to a quick end here by the end of the year.
We all have recognized 2020 was, for our industry, was disastrous. We had a downturn of 15% on the tubular market, and in almost all regions, and even in the US, we had 24% downturn, in Japan, 21%. So, and seamless was down by 10%, welded, smaller 16-inch by 15%, and the large welded pipes, larger 16-inch, it was even down by 27%. Consequently, some of the production facilities were closed down in 2020. Now, in 2021, we can see that after a price drop of pipes in 2020 of about 4%, since September 2020, the prices raised up by 63%. That means that the demand is by far higher than the production, and it also sees that the steel and strip and plate prices were also up.
So in spite of North American steel prices being where they are, we continue to have customers coming to us looking for help with their reshoring projects, whether that be exercise equipment or furniture or various other household items. We're continuing to see a huge shift from Asia primarily into North America manufacturing. That obviously is providing new opportunities for companies like Tubular Steel as in the industry as a whole. And it's also putting pressure on supply chains. One of the things we're continuing to see is, our price being way off where they are currently getting it from overseas, but that price becoming less and less important because it's more of a reshoring, getting the supply chains localized and having a better, more consistent flow of goods. And a lot of that's to do with, I would say, is the supply chain hell, as Bloomberg so eloquently put it.
Here's a glimpse snapshot of where Africa is today in the world. But I'll show you that these figures will jump skywards over the next 15 to 20 years. The implementation of the FCFTA is a huge step forward for Africa, demonstrating to the world that it is indeed emerging as a leader in global trade. Steel will continue to be the bedrock of society's evolution and progress, notwithstanding the exuberant prices which our co-panelists have shared. Although there's been a slight decline in the African crude steel production at the start of last year due to the pandemic, this was somewhat offset by the recovery in the second half of 2020. The World Steel Reports anticipate that the African steel demand will grow by 9.3% this year, the third highest growth after China and the wider Europe. The two main economic drivers in the steel sector in Africa are the construction market and the automotive industry. the African construction market will be able to register a compound annual growth rate of 6.4% over a 5-year window until 2024. Of particular note, there is 482 construction projects currently taking place in 43 African countries out of a possible of 55, or out of 54 signatories to the CFTA, each valued at $50 million or above. Egypt has the largest number of big projects, a total of 46 valued at $79.2 billion.
You know that the energy prices are certainly having great influence on the steel production itself. That means you need a lot of energy to produce steel. The energy required to make from cold rolled or hot rolled strip pipe is not as big as for the steel production itself. But we have to see and to realize that the steel production price will be influenced by these energy prices. And if we see the discussion what we have in Europe regarding the environmental situation and the political tendencies to make energy prices even higher, to force people to go for alternative energies, which are also quite costly, like hydrogen and others. For the steel production, hydrogen is extremely expensive, and somehow we have to acknowledge that there will be further price increases. But on the other hand, we certainly have to see that we have sufficient capacity in the world for production of steels as well as pipe. So there are, I would say, tendencies which are going in different directions, and we will hopefully not see that we will see in Europe a certain degree of deindustrialization.
If I could add one thing to that, I mean, we've seen in the U.S. One manufacturer specific that because of the energy cost and the foreseen upcoming more globalization, more global competitiveness coming back, they put in a 30 megawatt solar farm, and they're now producing goods at 2.2 cents per kilowatt hour. And the average over here, you know, on a good day is 5.5 and going up to 8 cents per kilowatt hour. So we reported last time some automation, efficiency gains, and studies people are going into from primarily domestic suppliers here to be more competitive when everything gets going again. We're also seeing the wind energy, a lot of farms coming up. Technology has improved. You've got SiC, silicon carbide semiconductors, who has completely evolutionized the wind energy efficiency and power losses. So we've seen some real gains in that, and going the other way, like you were talking about, Dr. Gunther, where, you know, people are going to alternative supplies. We're already seeing that happen, and we're seeing some pretty significant reductions in raw producing costs. And, you know, on one side, induction heat treat, quench, and temper for 36 ton an hour for tube and pipe heat treating, I mean, you might have 15 megawatts of power there producing at that rate. So, you know, 2.2 cents per kilowatt hour versus competitive 5 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour is huge difference. So just wanted to add that in there. Thank you.